Hey guys, Calandros here. So, got a interesting song today. Um, this one, uh, this one was shared by Jen in Discord, I think, if I remember correctly. And I think I had never heard of this band. I don't think they've been. I think their first album is what this is off their first album, which is not even out yet. It'll be out in March. So I don't know. I don't know how she found this band, but the song immediately blew me away because it was so different than what I was probably expecting. So and there's some interesting surprises in the video. Definitely want to get the video. I hope it's not blocked because one of the cool things about the song is the video element of it, and we'll talk a little bit about that after the song is over. But yeah, so this is going to be a little bit of a marathon recording session doing this song, and then after this, I'm going to be doing a really cool song by a black metal band, a Native American black metal band, which is they're awesome. So I think that'll be a cool treat for you guys. So we're gonna jump into a couple different reviews here. I'll be uploading this one first, and then the other song will probably go up the following day. So let me. There we go. For those curious, this is now that I'm finally off of those stupid medications for my laryngitis, I can actually drink again. This one is actually a beer I've been drinking for a long time that disappeared for I think almost a decade. Thomas Hardy's Ale. I don't know if this will be as good as the originals. Different brewery owns it now, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, if you ever find bottles of the old Thomas Hardy's from, I think was trying to remember when they shuttered. Oh yeah, so they looks like I think they shuttered in 2006. Um, Actually, no, it might have been 2011. I don't know, but it was 2015 was when they were repurchased by a different company. But always one of my favorites. And pretty much the classic example of a English style barley wine. So, anyways, let's see what we got here for a song. Obviously, I've heard this one before. It's not a reaction, but I've only listened to it about maybe twice, and I have not really taken much of a look at the lyrics aside from a glance. I kind of have a feeling I know what it's about, but we'll see. So this is the song War by Brutus.
Sure, I'll throw the clean one a little bit. Okay, rolling.
Our world, it's gone. Did we ever grieve or cry? No. I came for help. Did you just really pull my hair? will always be my guide. Unleash your wrath this time again. After all the tears we had, no more.
Do you have itchy inflammation of the skin?
Okay. All right. So obviously, probably not what anybody was really expecting. So a couple of interesting things about this band. As far as I know, they're a two-piece band. You have a guitar player, and then you have obviously an incredible female singing drummer, which is something I don't think I have ever seen before. Which was one of the cool moments in the video, because it starts off with sort of a similar, kind of maybe post-metal folky kind of vibe, and then when it shifts after the first Unleash War section, the camera kind of just backs up a little bit, and and you see that the reason why she's seated so strangely is she's actually sitting at a drum kit, and then and it's pretty crazy. She's a hell of a drummer too, but And actually, for those, I mentioned about the before we get into the song, real quick. So that's unfortunately, that beer is nowhere near as good as it used to be back when the original brewery owned it. So you can tell they're probably following a recipe, but you can follow a recipe all you want, but it takes a special skill to be able to brew something great. And I mean, this is good. It is a typical English style barley wine, but it is nowhere near on the level of the old stuff. It's a little tangier and fruitier than the old. The old stuff was like super heavy, sweet, brown sugary kind of stuff. Anyways, getting back to the song, the really interesting thing about this song I thought was the way it was written in terms of music. It starts off like with a very simple, like, just picked melody, like very minimal distortion, and maybe a little bit of like, maybe almost a little bit of chorus or something. And I think actually the chorus was there for the whole song, because I felt a little bit of chorus and reverb throughout most of it. But so she goes and she sings with a ton of emotion, which is pretty common in post metal, anyways. So that in and of itself was not quite anything really unusual. I did think it was funny in the video. There's a couple times where she's like physically touching the microphone, which is usually something you do not do. It was really odd, but it just sort of basically served to, cement the idea that this is more of definitely a very emotional piece. And then you go into that section where you get like the heavy riffs, and it's funny because it almost morphs for a few seconds there into a thrash song. It's that riff is very is something like you would hear out of like in like modern thrash or even 80s thrash, and the drums were certainly very reminiscent of that as well. But after a few moments, he came in on the high tremolo picking, and it was almost a little bit of a shift towards more of a black metal sound. And this incorporates, I would definitely never call this black metal. There's really nothing black metal about it, I would say, aside from a couple musical nods to black metal as musically speaking. But it's not like, it doesn't have black metal. I've heard people compare this to Oathbreaker. And Oathbreaker is much more of a black metal sound, post black metal, I guess you would call them. This is nothing like that. I don't know where people are getting that comparison. If it's there, it's very minimal. This is its own thing, and it's such an interesting mix of styles. I would probably put it more into it definitely has some post metal vibes to it. It doesn't, I would not say necessarily that it would fit into, say, a metalcore space, but post metal often gets grouped with metalcore. So I think there's certainly something to that. Vocally speaking, this never really goes into any sort of extreme metal territory. It's all pretty straightforward, vocally speaking, beautifully sung, obviously a ton of emotion. It's interesting if you pay attention to her facial expression when she's singing. It seems to me like she's had some vocal training, because one of the things that they always tell you is you sing with your whole face. And it's some people just do it naturally, but I think a lot of people probably aren't necessarily aware of how the other muscles in your face shape your vocal sound. So it's pretty interesting to watch her actually sing. So again, I'm hoping the video doesn't get blocked. It's really, to me, and you know, I think the mixture of styles, and then bringing it back more towards a with the drum at the end, but back into that picking pattern, you know, really gives the song a very, I mean, it feels like the song is complete. It feels like you have sort of a beginning, a middle, and the end, and the beginning and the end are somewhat linked. And then you have this angry, fierce middle section. And I think when we get a little bit into the lyrics, I think you'll see some of maybe why that was done stylistically speaking. I definitely question whether or not the rest of the band's catalog is going to sound like this. I haven't heard anything else from them. And I don't know that we will until their album comes out. I think it's late March, I want to say, March 29th or something along those lines. Let's see if I can. March 29th, yes. And they're on the same record label as it's Sargent House, and I believe that's the same record label as Chelsea Wolfe and some of the other bands who are sort of in that post metal sort of space. So, I wanted to get a little bit into the lyrics here. So the lyrics, there's not a lot of lyrics here. This is going to be a fairly short video. Lyrically speaking, our world, it's gone. Did we ever grieve or cry? No. I came for help. Did you just really pull my hair? Ugh. Which I thought, during this song, I thought it was out. But her accent may have just sort of messed with a little bit. Unleash your warmth, unleash war. Your hate will always be my guide. Unleash your warmth. This time again, after all the tears we've had, no more. Unleash war. Your hate will always be my guide. This time again, after all the tears we've had. Unleash your warmth. You know, it's an interesting song. I've not had a relationship. Because I believe that this song obviously is about a very tumultuous relationship, so to speak. And I've never really had a relationship like this, so I can't really speak to it from that perspective. I believe that this is talking about there are some relationships where it's very self-destructive. There's sometimes actual, like, real violence, but yet at the same time there is also that connection. And I think with this song, she's saying our world, it's gone, did we ever grieve or cry? I think that is really, the relationship has come to an end, whether she ended it or whether it was a mutual thing. And then the next line I think is very telling, because it says, I came for help. Did you really just pull my hair? I think this is really sort of, I think this is talking about like a domestic violence type of situation. But the really interesting thing is the last line says, unleash your warmth, which would that she's saying, this isn't her saying, fuck you, I never want to see you again. It's really more of a, I want to see you, maybe the warmer side of you that I originally came to love. And I think that is a very common thing, I think, with, from what I've seen with some of these relationships, right? And like, I mean, I've never experienced it myself, so it's difficult to really, sometimes to have the full amount of empathy that some people have. I know, like, some people, when this song was posted, some people had a very visceral reaction to the lyrics in this song, and I can see why, but for me, it doesn't, I don't connect with it on that level, because I haven't experienced it. But I think the next line is the one that really got a lot of people, and is a really great line, I feel like, because it says, "Unleash war, your hate will always be my guide." And I think that is something, regardless of what this song is about, I think anybody can really, in this modern day society where, people are just relentlessly trolled on Twitter, and just, there's just a lot of nastiness going around on social media. You can use hate as a way to fuel yourself, and it sounds like that would be destructive or unhealthy, and maybe to some extent it can be, but I think also, if you're getting a lot of hate negativity, turning that around and using it to make yourself stronger, there's nothing bad about that at all. In fact, I think there's a lot of good things about that. So, and then again, she says, "Unleash your warmth." That is probably the most repeated line in this song, which is really interesting, because I think it's showing that, and this is the part that I can't really necessarily relate to, that almost wistful nature about wanting to be able to come back to that point in the relationship before things got so out of control or violent or aggressive, right? And then this time again, after all the tears we've had, obviously, again, talking about, there was so much conflict, but there was shared conflict, and then, and obviously that bond, but no more. So again, it definitely seems like the relationship has ended. And then the last line, "Unleash war, your hate will always be my guide." This time again, after all the tears we've had, "Unleash your warmth." And I mean, it is difficult to really get into that one. And when I went to do this song, I feel like I'm gonna let some people like Jen down, because I don't really have these great insights to offer about this song, like maybe I do on some of the other ones, because I just haven't lived it. But what I can tell you is, musically, vocally, lyrically, this song is fantastic, and I already pre-ordered this album, and I can't wait to see what else is on this, because my gut feeling is that it's going to be a very varied record, with a lot of different sounds to it, because there was parts of this that were definitely kind of that black metal feel, musically speaking. There was thrash, post metal, and then just almost sort of a singer-songwriter feel, and I love the fact that you have a female front woman who is also a drummer, and is a freaking great drummer too, which I think might get overlooked some. There was the drum parts in this were awesome, especially that middle section. So anyways, that's really all I've got for this one. Really an awesome song. I would highly encourage people to to look into this one when the album does drop in at the end of March, because I think we can expect great things from these guys. They are from Belgium, which is interesting. Not a ton of metal that comes out of Belgium that I can think of, so that's kind of cool too. So there's a lot of neat stuff about this band. So, anyways, that's it. Check these guys out. Calendros out. Expect another review probably tomorrow for the Native American black metal band. I think you guys are going to really like that. It's really cool stuff, very unique, much like this one was. Some really cool, different songs, the last couple ones that we've done. And, that's really what I want to try and bring to you guys. Like, if I'm not giving the reaction, like so many other channels are doing, I want to make up for that by doing more in-depth analysis of the songs, and also bringing you guys some stuff that maybe is not what you've ever heard before, or bands that you've ever heard before. So some different stuff, which is cool. So, all right, Calendros out. Stay metal.